Welcome back, everybody. This is the first episode after our little summer break over here at New Cow Corner, man. We had to take a few weeks off, about a month off to regroup and get some things in order. Some to do with the podcast, some to do with the other podcast. As some as you know, we've been working on the Gecko Exchange Network. We're working on a patent and a copyright. I don't want to say we have it, but we're dropping a product line. We're working on monster box enclosures. So we have a few cool things coming in the pipeline, and I needed some time to do that. So hope you missed me. Now I'm back. The schedule's filled up, and I have our first guest with us tonight. Mr. Jimmy Ma from Gekko&gekko. Tonight we're going to talk about leachianus. Now, Jimmy's known, a lot of people that know Jimmy is known for being very versatile with the species he keeps, but I'd say your biggest following, I don't want to say your biggest following, but you're heavy into tokays, and it's no secret that you are the go-to guy for tokays. But I feel some people, maybe not everybody knows how passionate you are about leachianus, man, and the work you do with them. I think it's amazing. I've been watching you for a few years now, what you've been doing with them, and we have very similar tastes, man. I love big GT animals, man. The color stuff is cool. Those island things are cool. I have some myself, but there's nothing like a big old 400-gram green gecko, It's It's awesome. So I'm glad to have you here, man. I appreciate you coming, man. I know you're busy. I know school's back in full swing now, and I appreciate you making this time for me, brother. It really means the world.
Thank you for having me.
I think you have some great information. You have a very unbiased, intelligent way of giving information to people, and I think that's priceless. You do a lot, man. The shows, everything. You're a very intelligent person, man. I can
appreciate the kind words.
Talk to you for hours, man, and I'm honored to have you here. So when did you start working with leachies? Did you get into leachies before tokays? How did this whole thing transpire? Were you in these
before tokays? Let's see. Look, like all reptile keepers, we go through different phases and whatever. Kept ball pythons for a little bit, then I did the arboreal snakes for a little bit. Eventually I did transition. I pretty much got rid of my entire snake collection, maybe, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. And then I was just like, let me try geckos. I had actually, I don't know, I think I had traded some ball pythons originally for a pair of leachies. They were GTXs. They were like a cross between like A, B, C. So basically non-locale specific at this point. But they were big geckos. I didn't love them at first. So I actually ended up selling them. And then a couple of years later, I got back into it. I was like, oh, maybe I should try that again. Something different. But then I fell in love. I was, as a kid, even like before I was going to the White Plains show, I would see, let's say, Steve at Leaving Leachies, and he had those large geckos. He was, I think at the time, he would have the biggest display. So like, oh, he's pretty cool. So got me hooked, and eventually I did get, I think that's when I first really jumped back into it. I got a GTA Kogus cross from him.
Nice.
And then, just it's like addicting, you just can't just have one. You
Sure
one,
is.
and it's like, oh, next show, get another one. And then before you know it, you have a little collection.
Sure is.
But definitely the GT stuff definitely drew me from the very beginning. As you said, colors are cool, but definitely the large, big, I actually prefer no pattern, no color, just dark. Even it doesn't even have to be dark, right? Like a big green gecko is super, I think it's just something about it. It just looks super amazing.
Yeah, sure.
And I do like them because they also, the GT stuff tends to have a little bit more attitude. Not surprising, eventually a couple years down the line, I got into the tokays too. It's like, oh, I do like the things with a little attitude. My favorite leachies are the ones that are kind of like, oh, there are a couple of leachies that I have that are extremely like aggressive. Like I wouldn't say, not even just cage defensive. It's just like, oh, like these are animals like when I'm walking by, right? They do have some nice things. These are animals that are like at the cage door when you're walking by, like they are like, I don't know, like a guard dog almost. Like it's like they're warning you. Like,
awesome.
They're pacing back and forth at night. So I think that's so cool.
Well, yeah, it shows their intelligence, right? They're laying claim to something,
Correct,
like they
exactly.
have the intellect to know the difference between your space and theirs. That's a huge thing in the animal world, right? Like that's a huge sign of intelligence. It's
So
it's very, very interesting. If you ever wanted to study animal behavior, they would make perfect candidates. Just
yes,
the things they do, even in a pair setting, how they interact with each other, how
yep,
they
yeah,
feed. I mean, I know people will probably call me crazy, and it probably is just one of my pairs, but I have a pair of GTAs, and my male will always let the female eat first, man. Whether she's just a bully and eats first, he don't even try to go near the bowl until she falls back. When she eats and she's gone, he'll leisurely roll his way up and then eat his food. But it's just again, just watching the interaction between the two animals is amazing.
yeah. They definitely have their own individual personalities. I mean, each
Sure
animal
do.
is very individual.
Sure do.
Some animals are just by nature, just you know, more, I guess, aggressive by nature, and then some of them are just more mellow. Some pairs just seem to get along much better than other pairs, and then
Absolutely.
unfortunately, sometimes
Yeah.
they
So let's
they don't
get
all get
into
along.
what I want to talk about the differences in like some of these abbreviations for someone that may not know leechies at all, like a GT, a GTA, a C, a B, a more. What are those letters mean? And I guess I know some of them are like island locales, like the
Yeah.
Moros, Nuanas, Nuamis. Those are
Yes.
islands. So we'll stay off of that for another day. But if you could break down what the C's, B's, and maybe the mountain
Yeah.
ranges that they're associated with.
So GTA, I think this is before we had like accurate people like knew specifically what locality or what area this animal was collected from. Right, leachies have been in captivity for a significant period of time. This term GTA, GTB, and C, I believe, was coined by Philippe de Vaugeling when it was just like he was like grouping animals by just the phenotype, like what they look like. So animals that look big, dark, patternless animals would be GTA. So that would be what an example of GTA would look like.
Oh, okay.
Versus a GTB would be animals that have the banding. Um, Also, these are all GT, so they're all from the Grand Terror Island, so the large island of considered, the nation of New Caledonia. So GTAs were those patternless animals. So now we do have locality specific data after collecting specifically from this region, different, locales
Different
that
mountain
we can
ranges.
pinpoint now. Different mountain ranges, different whatever, so we know specifically. So it turns out like the type A's, those patternless animals, were essentially just either the yates and the pointy mays. So the yates are a little heavier bodied, pointy may are usually a little bit more slender, but they would basically be large patternless geckos. Not knowing the specific of was this caught in the yate region or the pointy may region, they used to just call them, oh, well, they kind of look alike, So all GTA. So now we use the term, if you don't know exactly what locale, unless you have some lineage
Yeah.
buying from a reputable breeder that has kept track of all the lineages, it's like, oh, the male was, confirmed, you can trace back this animal. This is from a pointy may parents, whatever. Same thing for all the different localities. Really, if you can't pinpoint that or you don't have that kind of data, then you can really just say it's a GTA animal,
Okay.
because then it has to be, that's like a generic term.
Okay.
And GTB would be the animals that have the white banding, the bars. So a good example would be Mount Dore, right? Would be like an animal which is a banded animal. It's like a large size, but not as big as the GTAs usually. So Mount Dore would be considered it's a great example of a locale specific version of a GTB. Otherwise, any type of animal that has some banding would be considered GTB. And then
Interesting.
GTC was basically descendants of one specific pair. If the history, if I'm getting the history right, there was one pair, a large pair of GT animals that had pattern, had banding, but had some white all over it. So it was a pattern animal that was supposedly extremely large, very long, but basically all descendants of GTC should be coming from that one original pair.
Is there
So
a lot of those around? I can't imagine there's many of them.
no, it's not. And then I'll be honest, some people don't even depending on who you talk to, how legitimate that locale is, because if everything is stemming from one pair,
Yeah.
it's really hard to really say. Um, Also, to be honest, it's really hard to really say or really distinguish just by looking at it. This is a pure GTC. It's like because you'll see people have mixed the different types of leachies. If you mix like a GTA with like an island type, which the island types all tend to have pattern, you are going to get an animal that kind of looks what a GTC would look like, right? They could have the large size, they can have some pattern. I would have a hard time saying that that is a pure GTC without. I mean, there's some characteristics, a very long tail, and even they're supposed to be one of the largest locales, but even people that have what they claim as pure GTC, I mean, I think what's out there, what's accepted is that it takes a lot longer for them to mature. But it's very hard to really say this is.
You got to be careful if you're trying to
correct.
buy one
It's
of them.
like, I would definitely. I personally have not really got into I have some animals that have that I've gone from breeders. They say they have GTC blood in it. I mean, for me, it's fine because I'm not going to advertise them as pure GTC. Only, I'll leave that up to the people that are really working with that specific locale. Sure. For me, I'm using it for just the size and the pattern. Trying to get some pattern into the size is what I'm trying to, really work with in terms of the GTC.
So what does GTX would just mean? Does that mean GTX like as in it's a GT cross of just GT locales, or does a GTX mean GT and anything?
I would personally probably just assume that it's GT and anything.
Yeah.
Again, there is really no way to know specifically unless you have the parents or who you got where the parents came from. I would not advertise. Like, for example, I know like certain animals I know were labeled as GT cross Kogas, right? So Kogas is another very. I mean, I would say it's a locale that you can.
The Kogas,
right?
Are my favorite.
Right, you can see again. It's an animal that I would say probably falls in that GTP, the B grouping, but it's an animal that's large, has some banding, has some rough scales usually on the nostril area too. So those are like you can kind of tell that that's specific. But once you start breeding mixing the different locales, they are essentially it's really hard. It's no different than like if you go to find a mixed breed dog. I mean, you can say this mutt. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but this mutt, it probably has some German Shepherd in it because you can probably tell the characteristics of a German Shepherd. But I don't know. How can you really know if you don't have the parents of it? So it's exactly the same thing. So I would say GTX. I use a term as to assume that there's GT blood in it, but there's also some other stuff. It's just so I can say that it's not just island blood. So the GT really for me, I would use it.
And it's one of the first animals I got when I first started getting into them. I was just leachy happy, so I was just buying whatever I really could afford, to be quite honest with you, not really knowing much about
same as me, same thing.
And he is the farthest thing from a GT. It's like he looks like I guess like a Pine Island would be. Like he's a really light green with a whole lot of white snowflaking everywhere.
Yeah.
Short tail. See? Like there's nothing GT about him. Like so it's my point is that you really have to be careful because you just don't know. When you're buying a baby at that, and you're not buying it from a reputable source that could maybe even show you parent pictures or something, it's a free-for-all, man. It's not even intentionally. It's just after the hobby has been going on for so long, and these animals have just been passed off and bred for so long to make individuals, rendition of a perfect gecko, right? Like everybody wants a little something, and they weren't really. Not everyone was keeping these locales pure, and I often catch myself wondering if we'll ever really have true locales in the future, or is it just all going to be mixed? They're just going to be types, like you were saying, like it's a visual type. It's a type A, B, or C because of how it looks. Will we ever really know? I can't even really articulate
Hard.
what I'm trying to get at. It's
Yeah.
very
But I
confusing.
will say that there are like some locales, there are very specific looks that you can kind of, like as I said, Kogus, you can pretty much tell that there's definitely some very typical characters of Kogus. I would have a hard time differentiating sometimes between like, you know, a really nice GTA versus like a pure pointy Mie. They could sometimes they're very similar looking. I mean, it's a
They
large,
do look
slender
similar.
animal that's dark, and so it does become very difficult. So
Have you
it's
ever
really
seen variations in the same animal? Like, have you ever had a pair that's like, say, solid green? They're green, and they've produced animals that look nothing like them. Because that could be confusing too. Like if you have two green animals and they're type A's, but they spit out a few offspring here and there that have bars on them and they look like type B's, but they're type A's. See that variability
that
right there is
doesn't happen to
dangerous
me, but I
too.
know that it has happened to other breeders, and I know like, well, this was labeled as pure. For example, people have animals that are. I'll go back to the pointy Mie example. This is labeled as pure pointy Mie. Should be patternless. But then every once in a while, it throws a baby that has pattern, like bars as adults, and then we're just like, well, I don't know. It could. There's something,
Very interesting. So how do you
because
how
it
do you
doesn't.
navigate your way through that? For someone that deals with a lot of animals, how do you carry your I don't want to say carry yourself in the hobby, but how do you look for animals? What do you do to comfort yourself, to put yourself at ease when you're buying animals or selling animals? What are some things you do?
So right now, in this, I would definitely, unfortunately, for buying like the high end, like significant, money for the pure locales, I have to know the person. Or unfortunately, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I like to know the person personally
Sure,
before I spend any significant money. Like,
sure.
or I would have to. The person should be like kind of well known and like established in the hobby, because there's really nothing that somebody can take. Any breeder can really produce a GTA animal and just say, "Oh, this is a pure yate," but the difference in price could be like a difference of $1,000. So it's a huge
Huge
difference.
price
So I'm just
difference.
like, so I have to either know the person or the person is probably has like an established name. I mean that's number one. But then I also have to look at the animal itself. Like, especially animals that are a little bit bigger, like you can tell what this animal is going to kind of look like and how it's going to progress. Um, do I like the animal? Does it look good? Is it going to be like, does it look like it's very typical of what it's supposed to look like? Like the textbook version of whatever's described as that locale. That's what I would, but definitely it's really like you have to trust the breeder for that type of thing. Now, and this is only for the people that are really into it. Like you can get a perfectly healthy leachie that's perfectly makes a great pet, a great captive, whatever. You don't need a pure locale to have
Sure,
a good
sure,
leachie. It's
sure.
really it's almost like it's like collectors items almost like I think all reptile keepers have a little of that mentality. Just like, oh, well, it's just not just one. I just don't need one of them. I just need like, well, this type and this type and this type.
Absolutely.
It becomes like it's like a baseball card collection type of thing. I just need a little bit, but
Sure.
unfortunately, I don't know how else to do it. Like you're gonna have to end up paying a premium because you want to get it from somebody because the value also is in when that it does produce. You want to be able to sell the babies, and then it has to, you have to be able to trace it beyond just you yourself. You have to like, well, I actually,
Right.
unless you produce the parents. Also, like I didn't produce it, but I got it from this guy. So like, it's like kind of going from reputable to reputable.
Sure.
So it's like
Makes
it's
sense.
that's
It's
yeah. I mean, that's where it is a bit of an investment type of thing. You got to spend a little money if you really want it. As I said before, you don't have to. A GTA for the most part is more or less the same.
and there's
It
nothing wrong,
depends on
guys,
where you want.
with them not
Yeah,
being a locale specific. If you just
yeah,
want a leechie to have a cool leechie, buy
yeah,
yourself something that you can afford, that's healthy, that's colorful. I mean, if you find yourself a deal, I mean, a lychee's a lychee to you. I mean,
yeah.
rock out. We're talking about very specific, locale specific animals that are. I'm not even so sure that everyone would notice. I mean, when you look at some
Correct.
of these
I
big
don't.
animals, it's. you really kind of got to, and I don't mean to sound like as like an elitist, but you have to be a purist to
Correct.
understand what
You really have to know
you're
what you're
looking
looking for in
for with
order to
these
be able to
animals. And
discern the different type
yeah,
of
I'm not
things.
sure most
And
people
I'll
would
say,
want to spend the
nope,
money for that,
nope,
but
yeah, the average.
there is people that do, and that's kind of what we're
Correct,
talking about, guys,
correct.
but
And then there are people like there are breeders right now that are working on their own specific, I guess, lines. They're mixing different things, but they're going after a specific look. So then these are animals that are descendant, like, and some people have established like this is the look that's like I can find a way to reproduce over and over again. This look is, and then so these are animals from this specific line. And
sure.
anybody can really do this, right? Any breeder can do this. You mix animals that you phenotypically has things that you
Just
like,
like crested
you know?
gecko, you can
Correct,
produce your
exactly.
own line of
And then, yep,
phenotypes that can,
yep,
repetitively repeat themselves, reproduce themselves rather. Sure, becomes its own thing. But then again, it is not a locale specific animal.
not a
It's
pure local. I mean, essentially, it would be like a GTX type of
yeah,
thing, but like at least you can say like, hey, then I'm constantly producing animals, and then you can coin your own line, and then just like if somebody asks about the history of it, you can explain what went into the pot in order to make it. But it's again,
which I'm
it's
definitely
very
not
similar
against either.
to
I think some of them are beautiful
yeah,
animals. Some of these guys that I talk to, some guys that are working on those GT cross
yeah,
lines that they have, they're freaking beautiful, bro.
yep.
Beautiful,
I
big
mean,
animals that they're put color on, some of these deep
yep,
yellows. Oh my! And, I mean, they making some
yep,
gorgeous animals, man. And they're
yeah,
GTS. They're GTS, sure.
yeah, yeah. And there
Those
are
are
specific
designer.
lines of different animals. Like I'm thinking, they're like different red at like GT animals with red bars.
Sure.
That's like been like a look, and then there are different lines of that. So are out there that are comes from a one parent animal that's the breeder worked to refine, and if you want to get an animal from that particular lineage, then again, there's another way of you're carving out like a new type, I guess, right,
Yeah,
to
which is
market. And
cool. It gives people,
yeah,
the ability to be creative, man. And that's what we,
yeah,
whether maybe not everyone feels the same way, but I'm an artistic, creative person, and I feel that these animals are a way that I get to express that. I can
yep,
make just about within reason, obviously, anything that I want that I can dream up. I can almost make a living version of it. And it's no different really with leachies than it is crested geckos. We have less phenotypes, I suppose, less colors and whatnot right now, but you can still do the same type of thing, man. You can still make what you find beautiful,
yep. I mean,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
If you're drawn to a lychee, then you're gonna find
Yeah,
ways to refine
sure,
it. And then
sure. You look at
again,
like
there's
what's
there, yeah,
Johnny Racks? What's his Johnny Racks over
yep.
there? Those crazy.
Draco,
Oh my
he has a
god.
Draco line. I've seen it. It's like some of
Oh
those animals
man.
are amazing.
Dude,
I've
some
seen
of the
some.
things
I've been to his.
from Korea too. You see, they have like
Yep,
almost albino white. These platinum. They're like
yep.
these platinum line looking. They're insane. What people are doing, man. Raspberry geckos. There's a
Yes,
lot of cool stuff, man. A lot of
Cody with
people doing some
raspberry. Yeah,
super cool stuff. How do you
and those are
feel?
people that work with the animals that
Yeah,
and they spent the time to develop
that's
their
what it
own
is.
lineage
Time,
and refined
time.
it. Yep.
How do you feel about the state of the leachianus, I guess, hobby or sec of the gecko world? Like, I see prices, and naturally prices in my 6 or 7 years of keeping animals, I've seen prices drastically change. When I first got into this, like I had mentioned, I was buying whatever leachy I could afford, and I mean, bro, I was still paying like $1,000, right? I see leachies now, dude. You could buy a leachy for $350. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so I'm curious what your point of view is on that. Do you think that the hobby is becoming more accessible to the masses? Do you think it's for the better? Do you think, I mean,
I
how do you
think
feel about the hobby expanding and growing and going
it
the way that
definitely
it's
did expand. I think it's unfortunately it's probably as a correction. I mean, I think during like during the pandemic, right? I think a lot of different markets exploded,
sure
and
did.
then they have over the years after the pandemic, now that it's all over, everything's corrected itself. I mean, you mentioned like over in Asia actually was one of the driving forces for the prices of all the new cow stuff being so high because they were very interested. They were buying it's basically really a supply and demand, right? They really bought everything. They bought the best stuff. They were buying in large amounts. So the US breeders, definitely were ahead than all the Asian breeders in terms of reproducing all the new cow stuff. And then, but if you've bred new cow stuff there, once you get them going, it's not impossible to reproduce them. So it was only a matter of time before everything caught up, right? They don't need to keep buying at this point, right? They're not
Now they're
buying
sending them back.
large, right? Now it's the other way. So they bought, I don't know what else to say, but they probably bought some of the best stuff that we had, right? Because they probably paid the premium price. And now it's like the reverse. It's a correction. So yes, the prices have definitely gone down. Even pure locales are definitely a lot more accessible. But I look at it as it does become more accessible to the masses, I guess. And in that respect, I think it does draw more people in. Right?
It's just like, let more people in. People could be mad that prices have dropped, and I'm not trying to, put my opinion on any of that. But I try to look at the bright side. I look at, the more accessible I try to view it this way, but the more accessible the animals become, the more people can have them, the bigger the hobby gets,
Correct.
And you just don't want it to happen too fast because then it gets sloppy, Too many people like too many animals and don't know what they're doing. I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, but just do anything they want. And then, people dump animals and it's just, I wish it would have went a little slower, but I'm glad to see personally that more people can buy these, I had a customer that bought one for their 10-year-old kid. You know how cool that was? Yeah. That I got to get a leachie out to a woman's 10-year-old child. That was freaking awesome, man. I mean, I know when I got them, there was nobody buying me anything like that much.
Exactly.
10,
No, same thing. I've had same thing at the reptile shows. I'm amazed at how many. It's different. The clientele of the reptile shows are different. I think the patrons are more like beginners, and I think maybe we'll see it pay off later on, a couple years down the line, when they become like full blown like enthusiasts. But right now, I would say more than 50% would be like beginners, and then but it's really nice to see, as you said, a lot of parents. They're taking their kids. They're willing. As you said, my parents never took me. So they didn't even know what a reptile show was. It was a battle just to let me have a reptile.
Yeah, right.
So now I see people bringing their kids. Whatever. It is a good thing in a way. It's if you were doing this, not that there's anything wrong with doing this for a living, but if you're just motivated just by, it's not an animal that you can just make money off of. And if you don't enjoy it, then eventually you'll lose steam. I mean, it is no matter what, right? You have to enjoy the animals even if they didn't. You have to think it's still cool even if they didn't make any money. And I said, there's nothing wrong with making money off of them, but you have to enjoy them as well. Without whether they were a $300 gecko or a $3,000 gecko. Do you still think it's a cool gecko?
I agree with you.
If you still think it's good, the price doesn't really, matter. I mean, I look at it too. When I'm at the reptile show, I'm just I'm amazed that even just the ball pythons. There are a number of people that are still. I remember ball pythons because having bred them for a while, I was just and paying a lot of money for them. Snakes that were 20 grand about 10 years ago are now $100.
Really?
Talk about a correction. I'm just amazed at how that market just. But then you look at colubrids, but everything goes in cycles.
It does.
People are still interested in colubrids, right? People are still working with corn snakes, even though they've been for the entire reptile, keeping history. I think it's not like they were around since I was a little kid, different morphs and locale, whatever. And now people eventually you just have to carve out. You just have to get really good at. I think that's how you stay in the thing. You're a breeder. You got to be known for something. You have to stand out, refine something, really focus on something, and then that's what you.
Sure.
That's your thing that you
sense,
put out there.
The way you're saying it, there's nothing wrong with making money. You should make money. but to exploit the animal just for money, it won't work well. You have to have a passion for what you're doing. You know, you really need a passion, especially with you're working with leachianus. I mean, they're not I personally had an extremely good season, but they're not crested geckos. You know, they're not pumping out
No,
that many
no,
babies. You're probably not going to be swimming in them, you know, to the point where you're
no.
giving them away.
And I'll tell you, GT stuff it's not. It's as you say, the good years or bad years. They are not consistent. I have some pairs that haven't given me any eggs in 2 years, and some pairs that
really.
really just give me two eggs, like two good eggs a year. And
What do you
it's
think
just
that's because? Why do you? Because you're not
I
the
don't
only
know.
one that said that. Other people have. I've
Yeah,
talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, and I can recall dozens of people saying how inconsistent they are. Some years
yeah,
you'll
I
be
will.
blown
Yeah,
away with how many they produce, and then you'll go a year and they won't give you a freaking egg.
correct. I'll say I have like four pairs of GTA animals. They are well, I'll say three out of the four pairs are pretty good producers. Give me like the average of the six eggs every season for a couple of seasons. But my pure locale GT animals, like the pure pointy May, I have one pair. I haven't gotten one good egg out of them yet. Um, and then another pair, I get. It's like every other year I would get like two to four eggs. Never gotten like a full six out of them. My Humboldts, probably like the rarest one that I have.
Those
It's
are
just like
beautiful
wow,
too.
beautiful animals. Literally, I've never produced more than two babies a season, and this year I got no good eggs.
Wow.
They've only like even if they give me like the four to six eggs, only two of them would make it to like the egg in terms of the incubation. So they are just not. That's why some of them are so expensive too. They are just not wholly that
Sure.
prolific. I mean, I don't.
Sure.
And even my pair of yates that I have, same thing. Not it's such a huge difference because phenotypically they don't look that much different than the GTA animals that I have. But like definitely the GTAs are definitely statistically for me they are definitely more prolific.
Interesting.
That's how what I found.
Any ideas to why though? Like
No,
what sense does it make? I mean, they're your animals are clearly super healthy. I mean,
yeah.
huh?
I mean,
Maybe
it
it's
could
just
also be like because like these pure locales, I only have I have two pairs of pointy man, only one pair of Humboldts. Like since they're so expensive, I only have one pair to work with, so the sample size
yeah,
is
yeah,
really small,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Versus GTA animals, I have four adult pairs paired up right now, but I've raised a whole bunch of different animals, so like I have a lot more to work with. So maybe there's something just there. It just so happens, but I just think that, I mean, personally, I just don't have a whole lot of those localities, the locality specific ones. Um, so I also, yeah. So
What do
I don't
you
know. It
do?
could
You
be.
incubate? Do you use an incubator for your eggs when you get them, or do you just do you incubate in the room?
For the most part, do room, and I get like a mix. I just leave it up to. It's just too much for me to. I take out the eggs. I put them in their own container. I leave it in the room, so it naturally goes through. It's like most of my eggs get laid during the summer. They tend to be so. I mean, I wouldn't say that I end up with all males either. I do hatch females too. So even though the room is warmer,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
do the same
that
thing so
natural
far
cycle.
myself. I've had 50-50, bro. Like
Exactly.
out
I've
of
had
the
50-50. Even
eight
though
that I've
the room I
hatched,
would say is probably warmer, for the most part because of the time that they're being laid. The majority of my eggs are laid like June, July, and they'll hatch I mean, I'm towards the really end tail of hatching. Most of the eggs I've hatched is just a couple of eggs that are waiting to hatch. And I'm not producing a huge amount too. I'm
yeah,
producing like 40 to 50 babies a season. So like that's about it's a lot for me because I'm a one man show. So
yeah, no, sure. That's a nice amount. I mean, it's not greedy by any means. That's nice. That's a nice, healthy
yeah,
amount of good. That's I'd be proud of that, man. That's
yeah.
nice.
So yeah, it's good.
Very cool.
But
So
so
what do you are you when you keep them, are you I mean, I'd imagine some of those rare ones, they're not even an option that you're selling them. You're keeping those, growing them up and putting them back
I'm
into your
growing them up. I'm growing them up. And look, I have them posted. the pure locales, the really expensive ones, that's a limited, that's like a collector's item type of thing.
Sure.
They're not like, those buyers are not like all over the place. You go to a reptile show, most of the people that are going to reptile shows, I said, are not, they're looking for their first leechie. And the first leechie is probably not going to be the $2,000 or $3,000.
Facts.
Which is fine. You have to work your way into it. You got to get comfortable, like, and then,
Sure.
but I hope that, as you said, like, oh, you start with a $350 animal, this
No.
gets you hooked, you fall in love with it, and then just like, as I say, it gets addicted.
And they met the source. They know where to go when they do fall in love.
Correct, exactly.
Are you bringing, or do you bring leachies to the show?
I do. The last White Plains show I did this was like last weekend, I think. I brought a couple of leachies. Yeah, it's. I mean, look, they've also, as you said, they're a lot more common. There are a lot more people that have them and breeding them. So it's good. As I said, I stand behind my animals. Let the quality, speak for itself. I provide. I have, pictures of the parents. If it's what they're looking for, like, it's like, you're gonna, it's like shopping for that, that perfect pet, right? Like, everybody's looking for something different. So,
absolutely. That's awesome, though. So let's talk about, if you don't mind, because I know there's so many different styles of housing animals and leachianus. Walk us through how you house them through different stages of their life, for like when you hatch them to whatever size. What do you do for your animals?
Hatching, I would say babies, the best advice is keep them in a small container. I don't know what else to say. I think a lot of people, it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, people want to give it a nice big setup, a beautiful terrarium. But the reality is they don't feel comfortable. And then a lot of babies just don't eat. You might get a really bold animal and it might do well in a full-blown setup. But I will say, some people might think it's cruel, but babies do really well in small plastic containers, like those Container Store, dollar store, like Rubbermaid, whatever. Give it some hiding space, fill it up, a tube or some kind of hide or something, a little food dish, a little water dish if you want, maybe a little thing to climb, punch some holes in so there's some circulation. Keep it at room temperature. They will get them eating first, get them established. Once they get a little bit bigger, then you can upgrade them to whatever. I mean, honestly, they do really well even in a small place for like a year. And then you slowly upgrade. I keep my babies and juveniles in tubs in the rack system. And then once they get to like a year or two, once substantial size, then I upgrade them to like one of the PVC type cages. And then, for adult pairs, I do the 24-inch cubes. I keep my GT animals. You can definitely do bigger. The large animals, once they get to that adult size, you can kind of be very flexible. You can do like a full-blown cage. I will say that they don't make the best of display animals, the GT animals, because they're large in that they would be destructive to if you had plants set up. They also hide in the daytime for the most part. They are pretty much nocturnal. They don't really come out. They definitely come out. I mean, I have my lights on timers. They know, once the lights turn off, they come out. They smear their poop on the front of the cage. They just like to smear it all over the walls. I mean, you can clean them, and as soon as you wipe them, the next, give it 2 days, it's going to be dirty again.
Truth, bro. It's all truth.
It is not like the best of display geckos. So again, it's like truly, it's like one of those cool geckos. It's a large gecko. It's cool if you want to take it out and show people. But it's not a great display animal. It's not if you wanted to like have a whole. You can do bioactive. I mean, you can definitely do bioactive. I mean, for the most part, I do have like isomods and springtails in all my cages. They definitely help. You can just kind of spot clean a lot of the adult cages, an established cage, because they will eat up all the poop and all that stuff. And then you just, you refresh the bedding every once in a while. If it becomes really dirty, you can clean it out and change it. But you can really go a long time with, in between the cleanings if you have it bioactive. But it's not like a great, I wouldn't put it as a centerpiece display. There are different reptiles for that, I think.
You ain't lying. I just tried one. I got all these new big 25-inch. They're like 18 by 18 by 25-inch enclosures, dude.
Yeah.
I planted it with monsteras and all types
Oh
of
yeah.
acacias. These savages, these freaking savages. Listen, oh man, they'll never get a plant again. They'll never see
Oh
another
no,
living thing
yeah.
in that tank again, man. I
They
they
will rip
destroyed it.
everything apart. Oh, yeah.
And it's
I
like they
mean,
did it on purpose, bro. Like I did 3 of them. I did one for a trio of Sarahs. I did a Chihuahua pair, and I did a Leachy pair. I want to have them all in a row in these big old cages.
yeah.
It looked like a mini tornado went off in that thing
Oh
when I
yeah.
came back. The other ones,
Yeah. In
nothing.
one
Tanks
night,
are
they
growing, they're
yeah.
thriving, they look beautiful. The other 2 tanks, and there's just this muddy desert in the middle. It's
Yep.
terrible.
Nope. So it's definitely so. Technically, if you had a large enough tub, you could probably keep them in a large tub.
It's
You
like
know, if you wanted to. It's
facts.
not really. They don't really care. I mean, I'll be honest.
Well, I guess
They
in the
do well.
wild, they really live I've talked to people that have studied the island. I've talked to some people that have been there, and there is even some talk. I've talked to somebody, and I really would be lying if I said I remember who, but they said that someone from Germany or someone was over there, and they did a study over a period of a year, and over a few years. But this one leachianus, this pair of leachianus rather, stayed in the same tree hollow
Yep.
year after year. They would come back, and the same pair was in the same tree hollow. So they really aren't
Yep.
going far, you know. And if
Nope.
it makes sense, you know, they don't have to be gentle, or they don't have to really be clean. They crawl out of their hollow at nighttime. They take a dump on the outside of the tree trunk. Whatever eats it, it falls to the floor. They go back in their hollow. They live a very simple life, from what I've
Correct.
gathered of them in the wild.
Yeah.
It
They
makes
do.
a lot of sense.
They are just. Well, I will say, like I just had one that just escaped. You know, that happens every
I
once in a
saw
while.
it.
I mean, you'll know that an animal is escape when they're different. Like they knock different things. I mean, this animal was all over it. He was gone. You know, he was out for a couple of days. I was like, it's just like everything is. You know, on top of cages just knocked down. He was you know, a larger animal. So it's just like, oh,
That's
so
funny.
some of them do. They find the right spot. But I guess once they find that spot that they're
Yeah,
comfortable
once they
in,
find that
they
spot.
kind of stay sedentary, you know. But no,
What does your feeding
uh,
schedule look like for your animals? Are you
twice a week.
really? Do you
I do
get? I'm
twice a week.
curious if you get them to take any bugs. My adults
Nope.
don't eat bugs, man. I literally have roaches that live
I've,
in there as
nope.
like cleanup crews. They will not touch
Nope.
the damn things.
Nope. They will not take bugs. None of mine have taken bugs, which is weird because I know other people that have
Yeah, I
taken
watch
bugs.
it all the time.
I've
I watch
tried
people feed them.
mixing, you know, the gecko food with like. So what I do supplement sometimes, occasionally, especially with the large my adults, I do give like a pinky or
Okay,
day-old quail. You
that's
know,
what I was going
I
to
put
ask
that in
next.
every once in a while, so just to give them extra protein, especially during the breeding
I've
season.
heard people get really
They
good results with those quails. You know?
so they do take those. Most of my pairs, I would say 80% of my adults do take those. But you do the same. I put like some superworms in that. They will eat up the food and just leave the superworms. I put some dubia roaches. They will not eat it. I've tried live superworms and live dubia. Nope. I've tried. You know, I have the like little packs of like dead superworms or dubia. They don't touch that either.
Really?
They just for some reason none of mine's like bugs.
Yeah, me neither. Very curious.
But every
Well, I guess
once in a
people
while, I
don't like
will.
it. So if they don't like it,
Yeah,
then why eat it? You know?
I do supplement with. I do, yeah, as I said, some extra protein during breeding. A lot of my pairs just you know, just give them a pinky every like once a month or the day-old quail. They've taken that. They've also like taken like if I get like super ripe fruit, like oh, you know, I get like some bananas. I personally don't like bananas, but if it's like if I have you know some, then I just rip it up into little pieces and then put that
Yeah,
in the food. They'll
that's
take
cool.
that. So occasionally they'll get that.
And you feed everything
Other than
twice a
that,
week?
it's
Your adults, babies, everything twice a
pretty
week?
much 2 times a week. I think is the best for me. Sometimes if I can, I'll get a third feeding in, but it's just a lot of times when you're feeding a lot, I mean, I don't think they need to eat as much as you know we're feeding
I don't
them. I
always
mean,
even eat it. I could feed them every
correct,
day if I
exactly.
wanted to. They will not eat every day.
Correct. A
No,
lot of you
it's
end up just wasting a lot of food. I think the twice a week has really, for the most part, it gets them to kind of clean up their.
sure.
For the most part, they all During the warmer months, they definitely, I would say 90% of them will clean out their cups based on how much I'm giving them.
So I do
In the
too. I do the
winter,
same
even twice
thing.
a week, even in the winter when it gets a little colder, even twice a week, they're not always cleaning up they're
Nope.
not slurping up that whole cup of food.
Nope.
So it's not, I don't think it's needed. I said, they're not doing a whole lot either. Most of them are just in that one area. They're
So are
not
you using
expending a large amount of
supplements? Are
calories.
you supplementing? Or well, I guess I should ask first. Do you use UVB? And if so, or if not, are you using any type of supplementation? Or are you using like a calcium, a multivitamin, or anything like that?
No, I don't use UVB on the leachies. I have not. I do use it on my chihuahuas, just because I know that I'm sensitive. Of they have the larger calcium, the females, the calcium needs. For the leachies, I've been breeding leachies for like 6 years now. I've not had any issues with parents or babies
Well, the
without
truth is,
using
bro, I
anything
use it
but
and they hide from it. I put it in
yeah,
all of mine just because I'm
yeah,
just whatever. They will not go in it. The second it goes
yep,
off, they'll literally come out. They
correct.
literally will stay away from my Chihuahuas will bask, my Saracenorums bask, everything will bask. Leachianus, I do not have a single one of them that will hang out in the UVB light.
Yeah.
They do not.
So I don't do anything extra in terms of supplementation for
Okay.
the most part. As I said, I use the prepared
What if you're using
diets.
quail and stuff too? That's a very
Yeah,
important.
like they'll get this and the prepared diets are supposed to be like have all this. I leave it up to the company that I'm
Sure.
buying it from to have
Sure.
all of the correct ratios of vitamins and minerals, right?
Absolutely.
So and then just and I will say that I do mix up the different brands of food. I have to say I don't use just one brand like throughout. I've tried different.
It's wise. What about
Yeah,
flavors?
I
Do
think it
your
also
animals seem to have a preference in flavors? Your
think
leech.
so. I think so. I think so. I think they definitely prefer like right now. I've been
Say
going through
fig.
the fig and insect from Pangea seems to be pretty popular. That breeder formula is definitely less popular. But it's hit or miss because I also use Rapashi a lot too, and some of them will like the different flavors. Like the one with insect, the grub and insects, I think is the one that I use the most. They, a lot of them will take that, and then some of them don't try it. Like some of this, I think, oh, well, here's a special flavor that he's advertising. Let me try that. So I try the different, brands of food, and just I like to get them used to eating different ones, if possible, because you never know your customer, whoever ends up getting one of the
True.
babies.
Very true.
It might be better if you get them used to eating like the different types of food,
Very
because not every
smart.
food is as
Very smart.
accessible. And, different people buy different foods, but
Well, it's like your
I do
kids,
think
right? You
that
don't want to give your kids
yeah,
what they want every day, right? You let them know, you let your children know what a healthy diet is. You prepare their meals, you give them different things, expose them to different things. You can't just raise a kid on chicken nuggets. I mean, it's
yep. Yep, it's definitely the variety. You gotta get them used to eating different things.
sure.
Uh, and
So
that's the
over your
best way of doing it.
years with these animals, have you found that there's any common health issues with Leachianus? And if so, how could you or would you avoid any common health
Uh,
issues with the species?
I mean, I would say they are a pretty healthy and relatively disease-free. Like very few things really bother them. The animals that I have lost, for the most part, are I made an error. Like I did something wrong, and I didn't catch it, or it was as a result of like um, some physical, like one beat up the other, and then they got infected, or it was like I didn't notice until it was too late, and the animal is like too far, like damaged already. It's a really
That's
like a
got to
full
be a hard blow with
cover.
leeches,
Yeah,
bro.
it
Ooh,
happens though.
ooh.
It happens.
I hear,
I
I
mean,
hear, I've heard. Uh, so I guess let's talk about that for a second then. Being that you've experienced some pairings that didn't go over so smooth. I mean, what do you suggest somebody does? Like, what if somebody has a pair of leechies and they pair them up and they're just not getting along? What would you do? Pull them apart or?
separate. You really have to you gotta pay attention. Obviously, I don't live with my geckos, so that's the hard part. I'm not there all the time, so I can't pick up on the small signs, right? I'm just like, I try to go there every day after school to
Yeah,
check on them, to try to clean and feed a little. But the reality is, it's just impossible for me to check on every cage because I have so many, like on a daily basis. But like, you really have to pay attention to see, like, and now I know, some of these pairs I've had for many years now, so I kind of know the personalities already. I have one pair, Pointy May, that they're like an on and off. Sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't. It's really, and then I know to, pay attention, see if this is an off year or an on year type of thing. And then you have to pay attention, like, are they sleeping in the same area, right? Then they're probably getting along. If they're constantly always apart from each other, then you got to check, are there scratches on their head, or like, are they physically okay? You'll see, like, they'll get scratches. I mean, when it gets really bad, I mean, this is like when I have males or females do this to each other, like, one of them will lose the fight, and then it's like they go after. Like, I've had animals lose their tail. I mean, it's beyond just scratches on the head. So that happens. And then I had one of my males
breeding,
that,
right? If you guys want to be a gecko breeder, man, it's not always pretty.
That's the hard part with a lot of the GT stuff. They are a little harder to really make sure that the pair. And I have to say, the island stuff tends to be a little easier, and they tend to be a little bit.
I've heard, yeah.
Like, you have a high percentage of them getting along with each other versus the GT stuff. I have to say, I have one male. He, the first, when he was old enough to breed, the first female I paired with him, they were fine. They went like 2 seasons with no problems. Gave me a lot of eggs, actually. Third year, like, they did not get along. He literally broke her jaw. She's still alive, but like, she has a misaligned jaw. There's something broken there, like, it happens. Obviously, I didn't keep them together anymore, Kept him by himself for a while. And then this year, I paired him up with one of my holdback females, thinking that, she was super aggressive also. But unfortunately, he ended up killing her too. Like, killing her. Like, it just happens.
He's a savage. What's his name?
Yeah. Gator, this is Gator Jr. This one actually got from Cody at Raspberry, like one of my very first GTA, like, leachies that I got. So I got from, it was an animal, like, sold, definitely like, how his father, he had a look. It's like the look that I'm most drawn to for leachies, that, as I said, that a dark GTA, slender, patternless. Nothing beats that for
look.
me.
That's what I'm saying. Very similar taste when it comes to that. I see her out there. They're exactly what I love, man.
Right?
They're perfect.
Yeah, the big, yeah. But like, he's a beautiful animal, but unfortunately, I haven't yet to. And he's actually, to be fair, I think there was another female in between that I tried that it did not work out. So like,
you get him a little.
Unfortunately, he's
puzzle.
Yeah, like, he hasn't been able to. I'm hesitant. I have other pairs now, so it's not like I have to. I'm not. He's living by himself for the most part right now. He has a big cage for himself. Until I
have one just like bro. I have a female that's a complete monster. Like, she's pushing 400 grams, GTA savage. I cannot put anything in there. I put a 380 gram male in there. She had him by the back of the head.
Correct.
Like he was. She'll be by herself. That's it. She's
exactly. That's a good point. Like,
herself,
females do this to males too, because I have another pair, a GTA female that constantly beats up. I was pairing her with a GTA, it's an A by C, and she constantly beats him up. I've gotten babies from them, but like, it's definitely, unfortunately,
Listen.
One year she bit off his tail, the next year he grew back, and then she bit it off again.
She's just not having it, man. It is what it is, man. Again, it's the the not so pretty side of keeping geckos, man. This is what it is. You
definitely have to pay attention to them, and then
learn your animals,
separate when you need. Yeah. But I would say that's probably the biggest issue, I would have to say, in terms of
breeding problems.
Yeah, like, health problems. I think they're pretty healthy.
They're
species
solid,
for the
sure.
most part.
I think.
I have very.
It sounds crazy, but other than human influence, right? It's us in general. It's human influence, human error that causes reptiles' demise. Reptiles are freaking solid animals, man. Reptiles are super
Yeah.
solid. They don't just get colds. They don't just get
Yeah.
diseases. If you think across the board, I mean, they do, but reptile wide, most things that reptiles die from at some juncture was human error.
Yeah.
It's MBD, human error. You didn't give them lights.
Yeah.
Fungal
Yeah.
infections. You kept it too wet. You didn't give them the gradient to regulate themselves. I mean, it's always something that we do. It's just
That's
reptiles
actually
don't just die.
the too wet thing is also something that I would have to advise. It's very easy to keep things too wet, especially the leachies. And again, they tend to like it a little cooler, so you have to be careful. Cold and cool and humid is not. It is really like you can get a lot of like fungal and bacterial,
bacterial
it's
infection.
very easy to get that. So you have to just be on top of it. It's actually a little bit better to be a little too dry than too wet because you get really swampy there.
I've seen a picture. I don't know
soon.
if there's an actual name for it, but somebody posted it a while ago now. But the fungal infection on a leachie's foot, it looked gross, dude. Like the pads were like sloshing off the damn thing's foot. But
it does.
Super
you have to
wet closure, man.
You have to let it air out. It's like
sure.
I mean, I think in general, it's really hard to the cool and humid thing. It's a very tricky balance.
It is.
So you have to,
Are you using misting systems or do you mist by hand?
No, I mist by hand. I use misting systems on the other animals, but in general, I don't like the misting systems. There's always a nozzle that's gonna be a little drippy, and then that one's gonna be flooded, and that one's gonna get too wet. I used to have misting systems set up for my tokay enclosures. I stopped that because I actually think it's better to just once a week or twice a week, I just go in and with a hose, give a little spray.
And not for nothing, but it gives you time as a keeper. And this is what I always tell people, like how you miss 200 enclosures every day. I'm like, well, first of all, I don't mist every day. And second of all, I mist by hand because it gives me time to get eyeballs on animals.
Yeah.
I'm looking at everything, not just the animal, the enclosure, the plants, the microfauna, the isopod. I look at everything. So it's not a bad thing. Sometimes we should slow down and do certain things by hand and not look for a faster way.
Yeah. But I don't mist because I don't find that the leachies or any of the new cow stuff needs it like that at the humidity at that level. The only animals that I do really mist right now are like obviously like frog, enclosures. Like if you're dark frogs that you have to mist, keep it moist. But then my animals I do mist because there it gets warm and it's hot and you want it humid and warm and hot and humid, so it's a little different. So they can definitely need that humidity. They dehydrate very quickly.
All right, so we're coming up to the end, dude. I don't want to, keep you forever. I appreciate you coming on here and just talking with me, man.
We talk geckos all the time, as I said.
Some tips that you could give, and I know we talked about them. I feel kind of bad asking this, but if a new keeper came up to you, like for example, we're talking about the show. Say a first time kid comes up to you and he's getting his first leachie. His mom's getting ready to buy him his first leachie. What would you tell that kid? What are the tips and advice? What would you tell that kid as he's walking away with that animal and he asks you how to take care of him? Give me like an elevator pitch on what you tell a kid at a table buying his first leachie.
Well, I'll say leachies, I think, is a great pet. Great, even the first time pet, even if you've never had a gecko, because it's an animal that basically the conditions that you are comfortable in, they will be comfortable in, right? Not too hot, not too cold. They don't need any special setup. Get a small plastic container, keep it secure so they can get out, punch some holes into it. Substrate, you can do paper towels, just change it more frequently, or you can use a mulch or soil, whatever, like that kind of bedding. You can keep that for a longer period of time, give it a hiding place, feed it twice a week. You don't need to buy insects since there's nothing better. It's like a great first time reptile pet. They get to a substantial size, and then really it's a matter of taste, right? Do you want a GTA animal, right? Do you want something that's going to get big and no pattern, big and mean? Do you want that? Or do you want something that's colorful, big and colorful? Or do you want small and colorful? I think that's like those are really like the three types that you're really looking at for a beginner level. And then when you get to, more of like you're more serious, then you can go into the really specific localities or the specific lines and, the very specific traits that you're looking for. But I can't think of like, I mean, I guess a crested gecko would be a better, even it's just as good of
Maybe,
a pet,
maybe
but
not. I think they're the same.
but you
Dude.
want something.
The beauty in what you just said is that you just explained and described the perfect pet, right?
Yeah.
Like they're handleable. They're not like super fragile. Not that we should be rough with any animal, but they're not super fragile. They're not, when they're grown tiny enough that they're going to escape and hide in your house, you'll never find them again. I mean, I feel that they make great first pets. I've talked to people before that are like, oh man, they're an expert level animal, but you'll go tell someone to get a crested gecko instead. It's the same thing. They carry the same thing. If anything, a leachie is hardier. A leachie's hardier. They're bigger. I think
they do find that they are probably a little bit more tolerant of a wider conditions than a crested gecko for me.
Sure.
I think the cresteds definitely don't tolerate the warmer temperatures as well.
Absolutely.
I think leachies definitely tolerate a lot better.
I'm not biased. I keep them all.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
I think
them all
make
too,
a better pet, especially for a newer keeper. They're more forgiving, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're hey.
And you know what? Look, they get to even an island-sized animal gets to very significant. This is like an island gecko is.
Someone that doesn't know the difference, like we said earlier, Jimmy, someone that doesn't know the difference between the locales, like island versus mainland type stuff, they would hold a Moro and be like, holy crap, that's a giant gecko.
Correct, exactly. It's still a giant gecko because it is still a giant
you're
gecko.
Going to hold.
Correct. It is going to be bigger than any other gecko that you'll hold.
Than any other gecko you could find. Maybe some monster tokay, but they're still not going to be as
correct. Exactly.
It's like
by far a very substantial animal. I mean, it's so. Yeah, I think they make great pets. I think they are very, as I said, very relatively very little health problems. And if you're just looking for one, it's super easy to take care of. Nothing special, and you can, it's very forgiving for the most part. And you don't need a whole lot of special equipment. You can do as fancy as you want to do.
Lights, no heating lights, no.
Yeah.
No fancy UV lights. Literally, they are the perfect pet. They're perfect reptile pet, perfect choice.
Yeah. It definitely is an animal that is definitely very suited. I think all the new cow stuff, for the most part, I have to say, are pretty well suited for life in captivity. And that's not the same for all reptile species. I'm going to say.
This is true. New Caledonia,
right? Because there are a lot of species I think that are really cool, but if I was to be all honest, I don't know if we're all equipped to keep certain animals.
Sure. As basic as my bearded dragons are, bro, like they're basic animals. I have some really nice ones, but they take so much work, dude. The lighting, the food. I gotta go grocery shopping for my bearded dragons, bro.
100%, right? Because you have to keep them. Look, I would say, I think they're
great
pets
for a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? You go to the pet store, and every time I look at them, I'll walk into the pet store to go grab like super worms or something, and I'm like, damn, I look at a whole tank full of bearded dragons. And like the sad part of reality is that maybe one of all of these is going to get a good life. The rest of these things are just going to fall casualty to someone thinking they
because again, that's exactly the point. Because you'll see a bearded dragon again, it's a very good pet too. I think awesome. I actually have. One that was, given to me by one of a friend, that couldn't keep them anymore. And I actually have it in school.
That's cool.
Fantastic. Very calm, great pet, but
very smart.
You need lights, UV, you need the UV, you need the high temperature. They eat a lot more. Like it's a lot more work than, let's say, a leachie. Although the bearded dragon is out all the time, which is great. But it's a trade-off, but it does require a lot more, right? That $25, $50 lizard is going to cost. You're spending so much more on the equipment, right? After you're done buying all the bulbs, and there you do have to supplement. Right? You got to give them calcium, right? You got to give them some bugs, some lettuce, and then it's a lot more work. So even though the initial cost is not that great,
dogs, you don't got to walk them. Yeah. They take a lot daily attention. My bearded dragons
Yep.
require daily attention. Leachies, obviously I look at them every day because I have the luxury of living where my animals are, but I don't have to do something every day. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Bearded dragons daily need something done. It's but again, I mean, I guess that kind of pays into it. You know, the animal costs less because they require more. Leachy costs more, but they require a lot less. You know, it's a trade-off. You know, it's again, they make great first pets, unlike bearded dragons. You know, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say bearded dragons don't make great first pets if you're prepared properly, right? Like if they have all
Correct.
the things we
It just
just talked
requires. It's not like some people think it's like, oh, even entry level lychee is definitely the cost of the animal itself is going to be significantly more
about.
than,
Sure.
let's say, if I want to buy a bearded dragon, even at like a Petco, a bearded dragon is still relatively affordable, but it's the cost of the setup. You know, they need a large cage eventually, right? They do grow fast. And then it adds up. It's going to be about the same, you know. So
Well, I
I
guess
was just
it
thinking
all
that in my
goes
head.
back to what you said in the beginning, right? You got to work with what you love, right? You have to be
Correct.
passionate about it,
It depends on what you want out of a reptile pet, right? It's like what you
Sure,
want, you know? You
sure.
want
You'll
something that's
do what
out all
you
the
have to
time.
do if you love that
You want that
animal
desert,
enough, you
yeah.
know?
Correct,
You'll do what you
exactly.
have to
And
do if you care enough.
yeah, and my art teacher loves that bearded dragon that
How
has
do
that
you
thing out all
not,
the
man?
time.
I mean, that's the one thing I got to say with the bearded dragons, you know, personally, is that in my family, they are the icebreakers for everybody. Like
Correct.
people know everybody knows I keep all these, you know, hundreds of geckos and stuff, but they all love the bearded dragons. My nephews, my brother-in-laws, my sister-in-laws, all on my wife's side, even my wife, she will not come in this gecko room. Bearded dragon, she's feeding them tomatoes, dropping dandelions in
Yeah.
there, like, you know, she's talking to her friends about the dragons and like they're just the icebreaker.
Yeah.
They people love
Yep.
the bearded dragons, man. They're a great
Yeah.
icebreaker.
They're great. I think it's there's no surprise that they became so popular and they're such a mainstream reptile pet, but it's cool, great, I think they're great too. But yeah, I think leechies are cool
Beautiful.
too.
They damn sure are. You
Yeah,
know
right.
that, brother. All
So
right, Jimmy. It was a pleasure talking to you, man. I
always a
keep thinking,
pleasure.
tough man. It's always a good
Yeah,
conversation. I appreciate you letting me tap your head. Again, like I had mentioned earlier,
anytime.
I feel like you're a great source of information for people. You have a very gifted way of relaying information in a palatable way, if you will. You know, you
I appreciate you.
explain what needs to be done and you give the potential keeper options, you know, and that's very true. You know, keeping reptiles isn't black and white. We typically usually have options. And you do a brilliant job with you know, portraying that message. And again, thank you so much, Jimmy. Thanks for coming on. And
Thank you. Appreciate you, Ant.
I mean, love what you're doing, obviously, brother, man. It's amazing watching you, dude. Love seeing you win, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Guys, if you're not following Jimmy, go check him out. What's your all your socials? Gekko and Gekko everywhere?
Gekko and Gekko at it's Gekko and Gekko_Gekko, right? The
I
KKO and
will
then
post that on here, guys. I'll
GECKO.
have it there.
Yep. And
Also,
I'm on
when's your
Instagram.
next
I'm
show?
on.
You vending when next White Plains again?
Next one is the Nassau Reptile Show. That is the first Saturday of October.
October.
So
If you guys are out there,
bye,
man,
say
check them out.
hello. Otherwise, November White Plains. I'll be there
Back in
too.
White Plains, man. Show Jimmy some love, guys. Follow him.
Yes.
You know, go
Yeah.
if you're not already. You know, check him out. Show him some love. Jimmy's an amazing keeper, guys. Very knowledgeable. All right, guys.
Thank you.
I'll catch you
Appreciate
in the next one. Stay tuned. Again, like, follow, subscribe, and stay weird, people. Love you guys.
you.
Peace.
All right. Peace.